Even where it's coming from.
Back, you're still watching Daybreak, and the panelists are already at each other here. They're talking about different things, including political parties and how the dressing has gone on this morning. They are Fred Okango, who is a political affairs secretary at KANU. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Geoffrey Ruku, the Member of Parliament for Mbeere North. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
We have Robert Mbui, a Member of Parliament for Kathiani constituency, but also the Deputy Minority Leader at the National Assembly. Good morning.
Morning, Sam.
And you have Nelson Koech, Member of Parliament for Belgut, Chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Defense, Foreign Relations and Intelligence. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
Karibu sana.
Sante.
And we're here to talk about different things. The emerging concerns, especially on the floods response. Over the weekend, we saw the President giving direction on what should happen. We understand there could be a cabinet meeting this morning to address the situation on what's going on. And then also there's the National Dialogue Committee report that appears to be splitting between those in government and those in the opposition, with Martha Karua saying that any purported agreement that does not immediately impact on cost of living, electoral justice and respect for multi-party democracy is a fraud. That is on the Standard. And President Ruto is saying that all recommendations made by the bipartisan dialogue team are practical and good for the country. Then you see those images of the flooding in the country. But also it has been a busy weekend for parents of KCPA candidates. Some of them have been complaining that they're getting the wrong results. The SMSs that they're getting have mixed up results. NEC has come out to say that those concerns have been addressed, but also there are different parents from different schools coming out and saying that they do not believe in the results that they received. But I want us now to begin with a story that you see there, that bridge on the Standard, travelers cross a bridge that has been washed away at Dukanotu in Garissa County yesterday. Hundreds of people have been stranded, and of course, floods. Ruto to chair emergency cabinet meeting today as heavy rains wreak havoc across the country. That is also on the Daily Nation, and we will shortly be listening to the president on what he had to say yesterday in as far as the ongoing situation of rains, to hear what he has to say. As we wait for that clip, let me begin with you, Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, because I've not hosted you on Daybreak, but you've been here anyway. Talk to me about the situation we see different Kenyans having to go through, including those images that you're seeing on the paper. In terms of government response, what is your comment? Because a lot of Kenyans are suffering. In the northern Kenya, we see people stranded. The food supplies are going down and becoming more expensive, unnecessarily so. Could you have done things better?
Thanks, Sam. It is true that many Kenyans in different counties, in different areas of the Republic are really suffering because of the flooding, especially in coast, in northeastern part of this country, and many other parts of the country. And I was a bit saddened when I saw the the Council of Governors coming out to say that they have not received any funds as far as to take care of emergency funds. And what we know from where we sit is that by July this year, all the monies that government owed to county government in the Republic of Kenya was wired to all the account of county government across the nation. And that means that our governors, they have some money which they can utilize to ensure to mitigate some of this very, very bad effect of flooding. And when the governance comes out...
Which month?
July this year.
We're in November, Mheshimiwa.
Yes, we are in November. And much of the money has not been utilized even up to today.
That?
We know because we are utilizing the same money through our CDF, and there's a lot of planning which is required to ensure this money is absorbed. And
but,
the other day,
more than 70% of resources at the county level are for recurrent expenditure.
The other day, the president came out telling governors that, please, we have huge amount of money which is sitting at the central bank. Why are you not able to use this money? I am sure the counties have some resources which they can use to push.
How much money is still pending at the, still stuck at the central bank?
I don't know how much, but what I can assure you is that governors or the county government in the Republic of Kenya, they have some resources which they can cushion the effect of this kind of
Mheshimiwa Ruku, did you hear?
But at the same time,
did you hear the governors say that they are owed some 62.5 billion shillings by the national government, including 32 billion for this month?
The report we have is that by July last year, unless you are owed by this financial year, because the last financial year ended in July. So if there's some money for this financial year, yes, probably there is. But what is the absorption capacity of our county government on the resources which the government wires to the counties all over the country? So
it is a statement here that because the government was able to release resources for the financial year 2022-2023 in good time, that yes, as of July there was no debt, there is enough money to be catering for the challenges they experience today.
It's not the entire of the challenges. What I'm saying is it is possible to cushion the citizens, the people, on the effect on what is happening at the moment. You know, we have two levels of government, county government and national government. These two levels of government must work in tandem. They must work together. They must work in consultation. But you cannot just sit when you have over 7 billion, which is normally wired in your account, in the county government account every year, and there is no way you can be able to play some financial gymnastics to see how you can cushion your people. So what I'm saying is, yes, it is true, it's a huge task. The Kenyan government or the national government need to do proper planning for such kind of issues, but also our county government need to do as well proper planning so that everything can be coordinated in a proper way from the national government to the county government to see that people are not suffering the way they are suffering at the moment, because the suffering is huge. We have people with no houses, anywhere to sleep. 3 years children in different part of this country.
All right. Mheshimiwa Mbui, talk to me about the response that Twisi, but before that, let's listen to what the president was saying in as far as what his explanation is of the rains we witnessed today.
Mkutano tukaenda pale Nyayo Stadium, tukasema tunataka kumuomba Mungu kwa sababu ya mvua. Wengine wakatuchekelea wakasema angalia hawa. Lakini mwaka huu tumepata mvua ajabu. Ni kweli ama si kweli? This year we got rains that we haven't got in the last 4 years. Kwa sababu kuomba Mungu si kazi mchezo, watu hawajui. Hata juzi mlisikia tukawa na habari pengine kutakuwa na El Nino ambayo itaharibu kule, itaharibu mali nyingine, lakini Mungu ni nani? Mmesikia wale watu wamesema tena ile El Nino haitakuweko, wamesema kutakuwa tu na mvua kubwa lakini haitafika pale ya kuharibu. Sisi tunamshukuru Mungu jameni. So na hiyo mvua nyingi ambayo tutapata, pia tumejipanga katika hii short rains. Tumepanga pia wakulima watuzalishie chakula tena, so that we have another harvest by January or February.
All right, the president spoke at 2 different times. Of course, in the last clip, which was in October, he was projecting that the rains would not be heavy, would not be destructive, or rather, were not going to be destructive. But in the other clip, he's talking about these are answers prayed. Mheshimiwa Mbui, your comment about what the president is saying, but also the response we have seen from both the national and county governments.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Sam, I think I was in this same show, and that immediately after the president had said there will be no El Nino, and I said he needs to be very careful the things he says, because people take the president seriously. And I said that what would happen if he's told people there is no El Nino and people stop preparing for El Nino, then El Nino happens, as is the case right now. In fact, I must say it's quite a bad situation. We are waking up on a day where one of our colleagues, the Honorable Zambia of Kilomne, lost his brother to these floods just yesterday. And very many Kenyans have lost their lives. Property has been destroyed. I think it's gone into billions, a lot of billions, because look at the kind of infrastructure that is destroyed. Look at the businesses that cannot operate because people cannot get to their places of work and cannot open their shops. It's quite an unfortunate situation. But I just want to say that it's important that we also be careful not to invoke God's name in vain. Because every time we do prayers, all of us pray. I mean, there's nobody who has some kind of monopoly towards God. And so you cannot be saying that praying is not easy for everyone. It's like as if there's a team that is allowed to pray and their prayers will be answered and others' prayers will not be answered. Because he said that, Mungu ni nani when it comes to the issue of El Nino. Is he going to say that God is now making a mistake because El Nino is carrying out, is destroying property? I think we need to keep our issues based on what we are elected to do. The president is supposed to have been listening to the Met Department and prepare the country for the worst case scenario. In fact, that's basically what you have to do in that office. And make sure that there's enough emergency funds so that when this happens, we don't lament, we start sorting out people's problems. I'll tell you, Sam, that the deputy president went to Mombasa the other day. And because the town was highly flooded, he implied that he's given money to the governors and governors should be the ones dealing with this issue. I think they talked about 10 billion. And the Council of Governors came out and said that money has not been given to them. Let me tell you, Sam, if you have to be very careful and listen to both sides, it's obvious who is telling the truth. Because if the chair of Council of Governors says, you haven't given us any money for El Nino disaster preparedness, and the deputy president says, we've given 10 billion, if the chair of Council of Governors is the one that was lying, right now, there would be hell to pay for them. Because they cannot play around with the national government. The truth is, the governors have not been given that money. Honorable Rukuya is saying that they've got money for this year. Let me say that, even the money is just mentioned of CDF. The last amount of money given for CDF was last financial year. Since we introduced these very punitive taxes and increased the assumption that would increase collection of revenue for the country, we haven't received even a single cent. So the whole of this financial...
July, August, September, October...
I'm talking about CDF. From July, we haven't received a single cent for this financial year.
When will the money come?
I don't know. We actually now saying that we need to start getting money before we go on the long recess, because immediately after the long recess we'll be opening schools and children will be expecting bursaries so that they can go back to school. So we haven't gotten the money yet. So basically...
So the other projects, the other programs that CDF is supposed to carry out, what's happening?
Oh, the ones of last financial year are still going on, but the ones for this year, our projects are waiting for money. That is the actual situation. So when I hear
what is the explanation?
Sorry?
What is the explanation?
I think the ones from Kenya Kwanza might be able to tell us what is going on. Maybe Nelson might have an idea.
Has any of you asked the question on the floor of Parliament?
We actually, I intended to raise some of those things tomorrow. Starting from the House Business Committee to figure out whether we can get answers, because we do require money, of course, to run the affairs of the country. So I believe that the governors may have gotten a little bit of money, probably just to support the normal, salaries and, the recurrent expenditure, but they don't have that kind of money that is being purported to have been given to them for disaster preparedness.
But did you expect that there was going to be a special kitty for this to be sent from the national government to the counties? I
expected the sum that when the Met Department said prepare for El Nino, that the government would start putting its house in order, in readiness for the worst case scenario. In which case, so if anything happens, there will be money to put up bridges very quickly, to find a way of of moving people from those areas.
Where would that money come from, Honorable Boy?
Sorry?
Where would that money come from?
That is the responsibility of the national government. There is always money for disaster management.
How much is it?
That is, and I will tell you this, that is why the Constitution and Article, I think, is it the one to do with the one that allows them to spend money even outside the budget. it is very clear that in case of emergencies, they can spend money for the emergent issues and recover that and bring it back to Parliament for discussions and ratification. So the government is able to spend the money. The purse of this country is in the hands of the national government. So they can actually spend the money on matters of this nature and then come back to Parliament for us to approve the expenditure.
Let's listen to what the President said that the government is doing to respond to this.
The meteorological department tell us that these rains will continue, and therefore we need to prepare ourselves for the emergency situation that is going to ensue as a result. And taking into account the situation in the country now to do with our roads, the food situation, the water situation, the medicine delivery situation in Kenya. Cabinet will meet on Monday to deliberate on the various recommendations that have been made to ensure that the country is better prepared for the management of the situation that we see unfolding. Already 2.4 billion shillings have been made available to buy food and to make sure that that food is delivered where it is most needed.
All right, so that's the President. And Honorable Koech, again, I know we spoke about this, a bit of this last week, but you hear the President, the Cabinet is sitting to deliberate on some of the proposals that are on the table. It's been more than a month that you've been witnessing this situation and people are suffering. Isn't it too little, too late? But also, why didn't we trust our institutions in the first place? Because now he's quoting the Meteorological Department. The same department he had said had changed the projection.
Thank you, Sam. Like I said last week, science and predictions have become extremely difficult because of global warming and the general climatic change that sometimes become extremely difficult. And I'm sure that is what the President was relying on when he made the assertion that probably we were not going to have El Nino. But that having been said, I just want to take over from where Honorable Mbui left. I don't see why there is all this back and forth between the counties and the national government. Of course, it is a disaster. The government must step in. But rain should be a blessing and not a curse. I mean, in other democracies, I even saw the northern part of this country, they should be harvesting this water. Shortly again, we will go to the dry season, and then northeastern again will be saying, no, we're dry, we are losing livestock and all this. I will tell you this.
How do you harvest water that is destroying the roads?
Why not?
How do you do that? I'm not saying you can't.
You can harvest water. It is a responsibility. And let me tell you, Sam, I had, you had what, using the same PFM Act that Honorable Mburu was trying to quote, do you know counties have 2.5% of their budget for emergencies? There is no reason whatsoever why they cannot mitigate in every county. It actually passes a lot of questions on why then devolution, if we can manage some of the most basic things like drainage. Number two is that these counties before, I've even gone to the banks and borrowed money for other things. Yeah. I've borrowed money for staff salaries that have delayed. I don't know why they can't do it now when it is so urgent. And if counties find it very extremely necessary, they will have gone. At the same time, counties operate just the same way the national government operates. You can actually have a supplementary budget and proceed to spend and come and regularize later in the assembly. Yeah. The government is calling for a crisis meeting today, cabinet meeting today. Tell me any county that has called for a crisis meeting to discuss flooding in their counties. None. People are sitting pretty and expecting the national government to support. Yes, the government, national government, is responsibility, number one, is to secure life and livelihoods. But then counties must take responsibility. That is why a lot of money go out every year. In fact, by the way, let me tell you, if you check out how much is being spent on counties, and this is not to be very harsh on governors, but there has to be some prudency in how resources are used so that we do not expect that we will continuously be relying on the national government. The idea and the wisdom of the Constitution was to have counties almost autonomous from the national government and not entirely dependent on the national government. What we are seeing now
What do you mean with that?
What we are seeing now is a situation of almost an entirely
What do you mean?
independent.
That they are meant to be almost what?
Almost an independent, it's a state. I mean, a county,
How so?
A county should operate as is a small government. So it is in the wisdom of the Constitution, is that they can be able to somehow manage some of the things locally. But right now, every single day...
So where did the Constitution allocate resources, minimum 15%?
There's a lot of resources that are allocated to the counties, Sam. I mean, if you look at the current alone in the county government, it is mind-boggling. On employment,
so if
I was told, in fact, there's a governor who told me that there's a governor from northern Kenya who has 150 advisors on salary. 150 advisors. Another one is advising on how to sit. Another one is advising.
Which governor is that?
I wouldn't want to mention because it was not. It was just a talk. When we were talking about what is going on.
I don't know if it's true. I don't know whether what you're saying is factual. But let me get you to the question that you're talking about, that the counties are meant to be almost independent.
They should be.
They should depend on themselves.
Semi-autonomous. The government.
So they are supposed to depend on themselves. How?
Every year. A lot of money is allocated to the counties. Okay, they are supposed to actually generate their own revenue at the same time.
Own source revenue.
Okay, so the government. So you cannot tell me that the government should also step in to even do drainages. Honestly, Sam, are we saying that then? What is the logic then of having a county?
I thought how counties work. The national government collects revenue in form of taxes.
Absolutely.
By the Kenya Revenue Authority.
Yes, even the counties also collect.
Just hold on, Honorable Koech. So all that revenue is collected by KRA from across the country, from the Kenyans who do whatever they do with their lives. Those are national resources.
Yes.
Then they are shared according to whatever has been allocated by Parliament.
Correct.
For this year, it's 385 billion shillings to be disbursed in 12 months, and their schedule is out.
Yes.
For this month of November, 32 billion should have hit their accounts by 15th of November.
Yes.
It has not. 7 counties are owed resources for October. And another 12 are owed resources for September.
Yes.
So how are they supposed to depend on themselves, yet national resources are yet to hit their account?
Exactly. Now you are coming to my point. Almost more than 10 years after devolution, we are still saying that the infrastructure in the counties cannot contain excess rainfall. That is one thing. I mean, we should be asking the questions of where have we come from when we started devolution and where we are now. Why are we talking as if, honestly, we are in the 80s and the 90s of the Moi?
My question is, where are they supposed to get these resources from?
You need to plan. You need to know that there is rain. In fact, by the way, no one should be telling counties that you need to plan for El Nino. It should be within their plan, master plan, that in case of any disaster, these are the funds that are there. I've actually told you that there's 2.5% of their budget go to emergencies. Where is that 2.5%? So there is no, and counties have been very prudent with using of resources. You've seen some counties that are not even complaining, that are saying we are perfectly okay, we are doing what we can to contain. Of course, there are situations where you probably need other agencies, like the road agencies. You've seen roads that were done by some, in the last regime, by some Chinese contractors, and of course the money was taken by the cowboy contractors, and now they are being swept off by floods. Those ones you can excuse them because that is huge damage that the national government must step in. But the issues of drainage within towns in our counties.
So I hear you.
Extremely well.
I hear you. I mean, Mheshimiwa, have you seen pictures from Tana River, Wajir, Garissa, Mandera?
That's what I'm saying. Some of these floods have actually been, uncontrollable. And that is now where,
for instance,
I passed my
the county of Wajir, hold on. The county of Wajir in the financial year 2022-2023 was 11.6 billion shillings.
Shareable revenue?
Just hold on. The total budget.
Yes.
2.5% of that is about, if you take an estimate of 12 billion, is 300 million shillings.
Yes.
300 million shillings, is it sufficient to do what you're saying? Yet, which month are we in? We're in November. It's 5 months into the financial year, and money has not been coming. What are they supposed to allocate?
Wajir just came from also a long drought, and they've lost livestock. You want to tell me that all that time they were totally just sitting pretty and saying, okay, we will also wait for another disaster to come in, then we'll prepare at that time.
So they're supposed to collect
revenue. Or as a county, do they have a plan? Every county must have a plan. Just the same way national. By the way, county is a mirror of the national government. What the national government is doing, they should have it. And that is why I'm telling you, have you heard of any governor that has had a crisis meeting to discuss flooding?
Fred, what are you looking at here? And what are the solutions? Because there are challenges of resources, but also Mheshimiwa Koech says there's a challenge of planning.
Sam, I'm very disappointed. Honorable Koech one day would want to be a governor. And if God helps him and he becomes, he will come crying. What he's forgetting is that even as much as the county governments are supposed to collect their own revenue and manage their own affairs, the Constitution of Kenya, Sam, provides that the national government and the county government are distinct and shall conduct their mutual relationship on the basis of cooperation and consultation in delivering of those devolved services. That means if there's an issue that requires them to consult on how they can address the issue of emergency, there's nothing wrong with the government helping. This morning, Ruto's cabinet is meeting to plan for a disaster that has already happened. And apparently now money will be set aside to address or mitigate an issue that has already happened. You have asked Honorable Koech very serious questions. Have you seen the pictures from Wajir, the northern part of Kenya? People are dying. People have been misplaced. This is an issue that we are not going to blame the county government or the national government. It's an issue that requires urgent resolution because life is being lost. Number two, Honorable William Ruto, in that statement you have just said, has admitted finally that the Met Department has told him that the rains will continue. In the previous clip you played, Sam, he said that he was advised that there will be no El Nino. And therefore, there was a bit of reluctance. And Honorable will say that whatever the president says, people tend to believe it. But what if it is a lie? Do you still believe a lie? The answer is no. When Honorable Rigathi went to Mombasa, he made remarks that could be believed that the county government had actually received 10 billion towards mitigation of this El Nino mess. Something that the county government, through their chair, county COG chair, Honorable Waiguru, has come to clarify that they have not received. And the majority of the governors, including those from Kenya Kwanza, have said they have not seen the money. Remember, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is the head of the National Emergency Response Committee. So he should be knowing that. What we are saying, Sam, is we are seeing a situation where the national government and the county government are not conducting their affairs on the basis of mutual cooperation and coordination. And that is worrying. That means we are likely to treat this issue of El Nino, right from the word go when we were told it will not be there, now it is there, with a lot of carelessness. That is worrying for us in Azimio. And what we'd want to see, as much as county governments have got 2%, 2.5% budget allocated to mitigation of such emergencies, I think that money might not be enough given the levels of this El Nino that we are now witnessing. The national government must come in and assist where possible. And to the county governments, where you have allocation that is meant for such emergencies, please use it. Stop everything and save life for now. Because you can be saving that money and then people die. Who are you going to use it on? That is what we are saying, Sam.
Do you think they have resources they are refusing to use?
I don't think so. I don't think so. No county government, Sam, would save resources while his people or our people are dying. None. In fact, I strongly believe that what Honorable Waiguru said could be true, that they are still owed some money. And if it is true that they are owed some money, the national government should release that money so that they can use it as part of the 2.5% that is allocated for the emergency mitigation. I think, Sam, it is also important that we understand all these issues required planning, as you said, and as Honorable Koech said. But if El Nino you know, you cannot budget for El Nino. You cannot say that this year we're going to have El Nino, but you can have projections. The projections were such clear from the Met Department. In fact, the head said he doesn't know who advised the president that there will be no El Nino. He said on these studios. So why are we here?
But the same person apologized.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Maybe somebody told him to apologize. I don't know. But what I'm saying is planning.
Somebody told him to apologize.
I'm saying I don't know. If you say he apologized, who told him to apologize? And he is a professional who said this will happen. There could be something. What we are saying, El Nino is here, Sam. What do we do with El Nino that is ravaging lives, killing everyone? We must plan for it. We ought to have planned for it. This meeting, the cabinet meeting that is going to happen this morning, that must come out with proper resolutions on how to mitigate the emergencies that is required in terms of food, health, evacuation, and everything that is required. Because if we don't do that, then it shall be a blame game on the national government and the county government.
Mheshimiwa Ruku, I want us to listen to Raila Odinga first on what he said about the response by the government.
Kenya nyingine watu wanakufa. Sasa wamesema watu 60 tayari wamekufa kwa mambo hii ya mafuriko. Lakini hawa jamaa wanalala kwa kazi. Yeye anakaa kule anajaribu kulaumu magavana. Lakini magavana hawajapewa pesa ya kuangalia hii mambo kasa ya mafuriko. Pesa haiko. Jamaa wanalala kwa kazi. Ruto walisema ati hakuna El Nino. El Nino imekuja hajakuja.
Okay, so Mheshimiwa Ruku, it is unfortunate that it is actually almost turning out to be a political issue, that people are looking at it with different lenses based on where they owe allegiance to. And those are people that are suffering. People have died. Families have been left homeless.
Yeah.
And a lot of uncertainty. So what's the way forward?
Most of governors are on picnic. To implement some of these projects requires a lot of planning, because you don't wake up and spend government money just without proper planning. And most of governors across the nation are busy with non-issues, not issues which are concerning the public, but the personal issues. And that's why you see...
What issues are those?
You realize that...
what are they doing?
National government, when it's launching projects across the country, those are some of the projects which governors are riding on. And they forget that they have their own resources to plan on the project which are going to be implemented by the county government. And that's why we are in a crisis at the moment. A crisis which would have been mitigated by, let's say, 50% if governance and proper planning on some of the emerging issues at the moment. So
I don't understand, Honorable Ruku. When you say proper planning and governors are not doing it, what are you talking about?
Why should citizens of, say, a county sleep in, getting raided throughout the night? Why is it that we can't be able to have an emergency shelter within an area, within a certain school where people can stay, get blankets, get mattresses, get medicine, get food? Why is it that it is the national government which should come with blankets, which should come with mattresses and food? Why is such a thing cannot be provided by the county government? And they have 2.5% of emergency, money which they are not using, or money which they have reallocated to other things. Do you know in most of the counties, we have counties which have budgeted for 400 million Kenyan shilling every year for governor's office, to ensure there are tents, to ensure there is mandazi and tea, 400 million Kenyan shilling.
Which country?
Most of them. You can check.
Now you tell me.
I don't want to mention any county, but it's the truth.
If it's the truth, there's no problem. Just refer me to a county, I'll check it out.
It's the truth that we are failing to budget and do planning for very important things, we plan for our own excesses. That someone sits with the cabinet and MCAs in the county assemblies, they pass a budget of governor's office of 400 million a year. Money which cannot be properly accounted for.
Don't members of parliament do the same for the office of the president?
So what we are saying, Sam, is that by 50% of what is happening, if there was proper planning, and if we have more serious governors who are taking their work seriously without looking at the national government, the problem we are facing with France at the moment will not be there. So it is true, Raila Odinga has come out blaming the national government, blaming the president, and that is expected of him to blame the president. But the president has been very, very prudent in pushing some of these things, and that's why he had a crisis meeting. That's why today there's another crisis meeting to ensure all the state agencies are pulled towards one direction of ensuring that this crisis is not going to affect as many Kenyans.
Honorable Buruku, you're not responding to my questions. Let me just try again.
Yes.
You said that county assemblies are allocating 400 million shillings to the office of the governor.
Yes.
You refuse to say which one.
Yes.
But the National Assembly did the same. You sat in Parliament and did the same for the presidency. In fact, the previous financial year, the presidency spent 20 billion shillings. 20 billion.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's true.
So what is the issue here?
One, Kenya has gifted themselves a very expensive constitution. A constitution which, remember, during Kibaki's time, we didn't have 47 governors. We didn't have 290 members of parliament. We didn't have 1,450 county assemblies. We didn't have 47 women reps. We didn't have 47 senators, perhaps nominated ones. So we gifted ourselves an expensive constitution. And that's why I'm saddened to see today we are talking about the national dialogue wanting...
No, Honorable Buruku, you're moving away. Isn't that a contradiction? Wait,
I want to answer your question.
Isn't that a contradiction?
I want to put it in the context.
And I'll give you time, just listen. Isn't that a contradiction that you have an explanation for 20 billion shillings allocated to the office of the president made by the National Assembly, but you're faulting a county assembly for approving 400 million shillings for the office of the governor, which you refuse to name?
Yeah, it is true. We allocated a huge amount of money for the office of the president because of the responsibility which the president has as the end of state. End of state and end of government. Sam, do you know how many ends of states have visited this country in the last 1 year? There are more than 24 ends of state and end of government. All these end of states and end of government need to be received by the president in the most appropriate manner. Tell me, which head of state has visited any county government in the Republic of Kenya? None.
How much should it be?
So when you allocate to yourself 400 million for your office, money which you can't say what that money is doing, is spending Kenya's money
so
in a very unprudent manner.
I am telling you...
End of state, the president of Kenya has received more than 24 ends of government and end of
what is the cost
of state. And that is a huge budget for our nation.
What is the cost of that?
To host prime ministers, to host presidents, and to host different government delegations from across the world.
What is the cost of that?
All these functions need to be taken care of. And they need to be taken care of by a budget.
Okay.
And that's why...
That's fine. That's fine. I want us to take a break, but please answer this question.
Yes.
What should be the cost of that, receiving those heads of state and kings? And
that's what you have said. You have just answered that question, that we allocated about 20 billion Kenya shilling for the office of the president.
In the financial year ending June 2023,
that's true.
The hospitality budget was 2.3 billion out of a total expenditure of 20 billion. So it was just 10%.
Sorry?
I am saying that the hospitality expenditure by the office of the president in the financial year ended June 2023 was 2.3 billion out of a total budget of 20 billion. And you're saying to justify the 20 billion, it is because of the visiting heads of state and government.
Sam, let's be very clear. That is one of the budget item. There are many other functions within the office of the president.
Okay.
He has also his own international travels. You know, we are castigating the end of state that is traveling abroad. Let me tell you some. If the president...
Please don't go there. Honorable Ruku, the expenditure for travel was 360 million. It still doesn't explain the 20 billion. In short, what I'm saying...
The total.
I wanted to understand.
The total.
You're questioning.
They are budget items.
Yeah.
Okay? Many budget items, which totals to the figure you're talking about. So the hospitality budget line is one of them. The travels budget line is another one.
Is it possible to cut that?
The salaries the salaries to be paid in the office of the president. We have advisors. We have many.
Governors have.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Honorable Ruku. Now, the office of the president spent some 5.3 billion shillings to pay employees, spent some 360 million shillings for foreign travel, 1 billion shillings for local travel, 2.3 billion shillings for hospitality. In total, it was 20 billion. Take a break. Come back with National Dialogue Committee report.